Welcome to the Saturday Morning Block Party Podcast. Are you ready for the Skeleton War? It's October, so Halloween is right around the corner. And every cartoon fan knows what that means. Halloween specials. Today my co-host and I will be talking about our favorite Halloween specials. What do we have in store for you? We have aliens, torture, and killer pumpkins. Enjoy. So you never saw Is the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown?
No, that's not really a thing here. Like, Peanuts and Charlie Brown and stuff. That I don't think that really happened here because I've never seen any of it. I know that there's people know who Snoopy is and stuff and who Peanuts are, but that just wasn't a thing here, so I've never seen it.
Oh, you guys missed out. It's kind of a huge cultural thing here in America. Something everybody grew up with across 3 generations.
I think The Simpsons parodied it at one time for the intro to A Treehouse of Horror, but I've never actually seen it.
Well, if you have time sometime this month, I suggest it. Let's talk about Arnold's Halloween. Hey Arnold is one of the greatest Nicktoons ever, and its Halloween special starts out with Arnold and Gerald watching a parody of the X-Files, and you can already tell this is a very 90s cartoon when it starts out with X-Files. And it's almost Halloween, and Arnold and Gerald decide that they want to do some pranks. So they get the kids in the neighborhood together to do their own version of the War of the Worlds broadcast. Are you familiar with that, Poppy?
Yeah, the Orson Welles one. It was 1938.
Yeah. And, they convince the town that aliens are attacking, and Big Bob goes ballistic. He's him, the mailman, and someone else. And they're prepared to fight off the aliens. And, Big Bob almost kills Helga.
Yeah.
He almost kills his own daughter because of a prank. Man, imagine how messed up that would be. Maybe that was one of the original drafts. Okay, this is how we end Hey Arnold. The death of Helga. Happy Halloween, kids.
Yeah, that was one of those episodes where you kind of get the horrible insight into Helga's character and her awful family life and all that.
I almost killed my daughter. I'm a monster.
Yeah. That was that was pretty wild. That was a good episode just for that moment, but other than that, the lead up to that was just one of those kind of lore building episodes for Helga's character.
How do you mean?
It was one of those episodes, because we all know that, by now everybody knows that Helga Pataki is one of those deep characters with, she's really complex and there's a lot to her, and part of that is because of her messed up family life with her mum who's implied to be an alcoholic, and the fact that her parents are more interested in her older sister than they are in her, even though her sister is a total flake, and she's kind of she's a strong, smart woman, and they don't really see that or appreciate that, and the dad just seems to kind of ignore her redeeming moments, at the end of the Halloween episode where you really do see that he does care for her, but the lead up to that is a bit kind of depressing, really. I found it to be quite sad.
Yeah. So what did you think of Big Bob and the other guys preparing to fight a war against the aliens?
As somebody who isn't American watching that's just basically what you think of Americans. That's what you think they do. They just kind of rally up together and they're no, we're going to beat them up or something. It was really funny. And it's just kind of reinforced that stereotype.
And the funny thing is that the two actual veterans in the show, Arnold's grandpa and Gerald's dad, they weren't in on that. They weren't going out guns blazing. It was preppers.
Yeah.
I remember Principal Warts in that episode.
I do not.
Okay, Big Bob and his militia were driving down the street when they saw Principal Warts walking with a bunch of presents, and it turns out he was just ready to get on his knees and beg the aliens for his life, and he wanted to bribe them with presents, and he was actually thinking that if they take him prisoner, he'll leading them to the children.
Yeah. No, I remember that bit. I was just what a dick.
I already didn't like Principal Warts, but that just made me lose any hope of respect I had.
Yeah, he's just kind of a corrupt man, but then again, in all kind of children's cartoons, the adults are idiots and the kids are clever and compassionate.
Yeah, I think Hey Arnold further than that and had some really good adult characters, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, well, obviously there's Arnold's granddad, he's great, and Arnold's grandma, she's great, but it's like, I don't know, kind of side characters, especially positions of authority, they're just kind of portrayed as either corrupt or stupid.
Yeah. And something that was really cool in this episode is that, it was referencing the Orson Welles War of the Worlds broadcast and episode who was dead set on breaking the big story about alien invaders. His voice was, his voice and intonation were parodying Orson Welles.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been the same guy who played Brain from Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah, it's kind of like a wee snivelly voice.
Flying saucers. They loom large in the imagination, but indeed, do they exist? We now know that this Earth is watched closely by intelligences greater than man's. We have scrutinized and studied this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood.
Let's talk about the Recess Halloween special.
The one with, what's his name? Butch. That one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Butch.
Yeah. That's like his last proper appearance.
I really liked Butch.
I loved it.
I thought it was cool.
I love the story of his white streak in his hair. It's amazing. That episode's like 13 years old, that Halloween one.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the episode that we're talking about, it has Butch, one of the minor characters of Recess, and he's telling a, three-part story kind of similar to the formula that Treehouse of Horror made, where, it's a Halloween special split into 3 parts. And, they still use that today because Gravity Falls and Regular Show have recently done episodes like that. But anyway, he tells scary stories about kids on a playground, especially the, Recess crew main cast. And one of them is a parody of Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive, where all the bikes come to life and try to kill the kids.
Yeah, Pegasus.
And the other one is when Corn Chip Girl eats these weird cursed or whatever potato chips.
Experimental ones, I think they were. Yeah, they were like untested experimental ones.
I love how Kelso from the store was so worked up about untested chips, like it's a drug or something. You don't know what happens. These are untested.
Why would he have them? Like, available for retail purposes?
I don't know. And, she eats the potato chips. It turns out that they turn her into a werewolf. And, Gus takes on Sherlock Holmes, Monster Hunter persona. And the last one, Gus breaks a pinky swear and they end up, and Vince gets into a dare with Lawson to go into the Digger twins' hole for the night. And, they all go down there and there's a tomb of a lot of zombie finsters and they end up being scared of them and running away because they want to eat them. Yeah,
that was like, that one was my least favourite of the 3. The Finsters one.
Really?
Yeah, I really liked the Corn Chip Girl one and the When Bikes Attack. I just thought it was ridiculous.
I actually like the Corn Chip one the least because the first and last one were, I think they were pretty scary. They didn't try to sugarcoat it. I don't know if they explicitly said it, but you could just tell by the atmosphere and the actions that these kids were in danger of dying. Seriously.
Yeah.
These kids were fearing for their lives.
Yeah. I liked about, the thing with these types of episodes is I don't like the non-canon nature of them. It's like, I always kind of, like, a Halloween special and stuff, but, shows tend to do these kind of episodes where it's, like, these random tales, and they're non-canon to the series. I'm, like, not super into that. Unless it's, like, Treehouse of Horror, because that's, like, that started that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's okay, but it's just, like, I think everybody does that now.
The new Gravity Falls Halloween special, and they did the same formula.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting because, it was the viewer taking a spot of this character in the show, and, it was a first-person view, and spoiler alert, after Stan tells the person the 3 stories, he poisons the viewer, paints them up, and makes them display in his museum. That's messed up.
Yeah, that's that one Courage the Cowardly Dog episode.
Which one?
The one where they get made into puppets.
Oh yeah, that was...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awful.
I kind of walked away from that Gravity Falls with the same feeling I had in that Billy and Mandy episode where Mandy tied Billy up, gagged him, and started making a brick wall around him like the cask of Amontillado.
It's just like, oh, okay.
It's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's good. It's effective. I mean, that means that they've done it right. It's like,
And you've seen the Billy Mandy Halloween special, the half-hour one, right?
I have done many years ago.
Do you remember the plot?
Kind of. They take Grimm's scythe or something. Yeah.
Episode we're talking about is not the first Billy and Mandy Halloween special. That's called Grim or Gregory. It's all right, not too memorable. But what we're talking about today is Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween. And in Townsville, there's this legend of a guy with the pumpkin for a head called, Jack-o'-lantern, something like that. And, he only comes out on Halloween because, you can't go around and walk with a pumpkin for a head. If you want to buy pudding, people want to freak out. And, Billy meets this prankster, Jack, and Jack finds out that Billy's got Grimm's scythe, so he steals it. So he opens up the underworld and lets all the spirits out, and they inhabit pumpkins, and now Billy and Mandy and Grimm have to save the world from it being Halloween every day.
Oh yeah, no, I do remember that one.
What do you think about it?
I quite liked it. I liked the fact that he was like a practical jokester, and then he ends up trying to take over the world, basically. So that was a bit odd. I wanted to make it Halloween forever, so he can make pranks whenever he wants. I thought that was a bit I liked that he's initially this kind of character that's like this myth. He just likes to play pranks and stuff, but then he actually escalates in the episode to somebody who wants to basically just change the world. I just thought it was kind of oh well, that escalated a bit, but it was good. No, I did like it. I think that it was quite an innocent intention. He just wanted it so he could play pranks whenever he wanted.
I really liked the little subplot with Irwin trying to impress Mandy with his Halloween costume because he kept doing these cutesy, kind of girly costumes. At first he was, I think, Cinderella, Mama Turtle. Mandy kept hassling him to get a scary costume. And then at the very end, he does get a scary costume. He becomes the Black Knight that beat the crap out of Jack back in the day. And then immediately he just falls into this Rube Goldberg series of prank traps that Mandy set to get Jack. And that was just very funny.
Is that the episode where he did the Little Bo Peep costume?
Yes.
Yes. I remember that. No, that was one of my favourite bits. He was cute. I love Irwin. He's a brilliant character.
Would you date Irwin?
I think I'd consider it. I think I'd like to spend time with him. He seems like a laugh.
Even after he starts talking like a hip-hop wannabe?
Oh, I love that. It's so funny.
I love how they just started that in one episode and decided to keep it.
Yeah, I like him because he kind of sounds like he's gonna burst into tears at any moment, when he speaks. I just get the feeling that he's about to cry whenever he's talking. Because he's like, Mandy. I like him, but I love kind of unrequited relationships like that. It's like Milhouse and Lisa, but times 20. It's way better.
So any more thoughts on Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween?
I liked it. I liked that it was kind of a Halloween episode on a really large scale. It wasn't just about trick-or-treating or Halloween parties or something. It was save the world situation, but you're not really going to get something low-key in Billy and Mandy. So I thought it was good. It was a good episode. Okay,
so tell me about the Rugrats Halloween special.
The Rugrats have had 2 Halloween specials. There was one in season 1, and there was one in season 8. And I liked the one in season 8. I thought that was quite interesting. It's the premise is they go to an amusement park called Dreamland, but it's changed to say Screamland, and they go to haunted houses, and Angelica starts eating all the candy before they go, and she gets in trouble and tell that she's not going trick or treating. so she's not going to be able to get any sweets. So she tells the babies that she's like, she'll turn them into their costumes, or she turns them all into their costumes. So they run about thinking that they are their costumes, and Chucky's freaking out because he's like a werewolf, and he runs up to this other wee girl who's dressed as a princess and is like, "Juju back," and she gets terrified in this wee haunted mansion. I just thought it was it was just a really cute episode. It's just like a typical Rugrats episode. Like, Angelica is just trying to deceive them to get some kind of confectionery reward out of it.
Poor Chucky. He was such a stressful kid.
Yeah. He thinks he's becoming a werewolf, but like all the other babies are like, yes, like they become their costumes. Because like the twins are bats, and Kimmy's a witch, and I think Dill had like this weird spider costume, and Tommy was a vampire, but nah, Chucky was like freaking out because he thought he was going to become a werewolf, and there was those kind of scenes where you see into their thinking and feeling, so he like thinks he's genuinely a werewolf. So it's like those kind of dreamscape type scenes, which was quite good. But it was a funny episode. And then I think in the end, Angelica gets caught eating the sweets again, and then she's not allowed. Like, her parents were initially like, okay, if you behave, you can go trick or treating, but then she gets caught eating the sweets again, so she's not allowed to go.
Good.
Because she like she refuses to give them back, like give them their sweets back, and then she gets caught eating them. So she's
good. I hate Angelica.
I used to love her when I was wee. I loved Angelica.
Why?
I think it's because she was a girl. I just liked her because she was a girl. That's why I like anything. Like, that's why I like Metroid, because she was a girl, and Biollante from the Godzilla universe because she was a girl. I just liked her because she was a girl, even though she was a horrible influence on me. Yeah, Candy Bar Creep Show.
That was such a good one. Let's see. Stu and Dee Dee made a haunted house in their garage for the neighborhood kids, and I thought that was really cool. No one in my neighborhood ever did that. And, you know, they really got into it. I love how much they love Halloween, and, you know, Angelica is saying that she gets to go trick-or-treating, and that means she gets Reptar bars and the other kids don't. And, you know, they have some antic, you know, hijinks ensue, and Angelica and Grandpa end up getting terrified in the haunted house. And the babies get Reptar bars in the end. And
they turn their tongue green.
I always wanted a Reptar bar.
Yeah, that was like the appeal of them. They were like, oh yeah, you get ripped. Like, oh, I'm going to get Reptar bars, so what? And it's like, they turn your tongue green. And then they were like, oh! And that was like the driving force of the episode. That was a good episode. It's like, yeah, that was in season 1, and I liked the irony of Angelica's costume. She was like an angel. It's great. Yeah, that was good. I think, but in the second Halloween special, the werewolf one, Susie's the angel, and like Angelica's like a spoiled princess or something. So it's more kind of reflective of their personalities. But I really did like that kind of contrapuntal costume she had, because like you see her in things like that a lot, like kind of weird costumes that don't reflect her true personality.
Now let's talk about the Spongebob Halloween special.
Every year, on Halloween night, the Flying Dutchman descends on Bikini Bottom in a pirate ship. Just like this, only bigger.
Excuse me, did his ship look like a Krabby Patty?
Yeah, I was thinking of like the Flying Dutchman one. That's a classic.
Yeah, in the SpongeBob Halloween special, I don't know if they made any new ones, but this is the one that I watched as a kid. And, you know, SpongeBob is really jumpy and easy to scare. So Mr. Krabs and Squidward have a lot of fun joking around with them. And, you know, he decides that he wants to be the classic Halloween costume on it. You can't beat it. The sheet with holes cut in it. And, you know, they think he's a haunted mattress. Nobody cares. And he decides that his square shape isn't scary enough, so he has Patrick shave him down, which is very disturbing because
that was like plot twist.
That's like his skin and muscle tissue.
Yeah, he was just a brain with eyes, and it was like I don't think you see that until like he actually gets to the party. And then like his cloak kind of comes off, and then it's like, oh, I am scary, and it turns out he's just a brain. But that was brilliant. But like, the best bit is the clogs, the Dutchman. That was brilliant.
Yeah, and they decide to give the prank all they have, drop SpongeBob from the ceiling with the string, make him pretend to be the Flying Dutchman, and then the real Flying Dutchman gets pissed off that he's impersonating him, and I guess the Dutchman's about to steal everyone's souls, but then he takes off SpongeBob's costume and sees his brain and gets freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really good episode.
I love that. I think, was that the Flying Dutchman's first appearance?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. He's one of my favourites. I love the Flying Dutchman. He's hilarious. Looks just fantastic all the time. But he's great.
Have you seen that episode when he comes to crash at SpongeBob's house?
Yeah.
Man, that one sequence when he's transforming is just disturbing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. No, yeah, it's one of those moments, like, the really kind of detailed, gruesome moments in SpongeBob. I thought it was it was really kind of simple. It was like, right, he's going to scare people, and then he ends up being a skinless kind of being, and it's absolutely horrifying, but I love that. I liked that was like some kind of plot twist. I thought it was hilarious, and that's one of my favourite Halloween specials to date.
There's only one way for you to avoid his fate. I need a treat. If you can collect 500 pieces of candy and bring it to me before the last jack-o'-melon goes out, I will let you live.
500 treats in one night? That's impossible!
The choice is yours, children. You must trick or treat, or die.
How do you feel about Halloween specials where the plot revolves around somebody feeling like they're too old to go trick-or-treating?
Well, I know that I believe it's been like, it's a concept that's been done to death, but I agree with it. Like, when people are like they still do it regardless of, what other folk are saying and all that. I think it's true, but it's like, in terms of a kind of premise for an episode, I don't need to see any more of it.
Nevermore from The Weekenders and Summerween from Gravity Falls. Have you seen either of those?
I haven't.
And in Summerween, not too much of it revolves around, I'm too old to trick-or-treat, but, it's got a lot of good stuff, like the Summerween trickster, who is this monster that is really reminiscent of No-Face from Spirited Away. He's just made very creepy. He's designed really well, and this whole episode's got great atmosphere. It was a really good episode. The only thing I would have changed is that I wanted Dipper to feel like he was too old to go trick-or-treating, all by himself. It would have been better if Wendy was the catalyst for that, because at first there wasn't any indication that he felt he was too old to go trick-or-treating, but then Wendy and her boyfriend come, "Hey dude, you want to come to my party?"
I disagree. I think that's a good reflection of Dipper's character weakness when it comes to Wendy and Robbie and all that. I don't like it when the character themselves decides they think they're too cool for school and all that. They are like, "Oh, I'm too old for this. I'm too cool for this. I'm above this." But when it's a case of somebody pressuring them or trying to make them feel inadequate for liking something that is considered to be somewhat juvenile and petulant, that's more interesting, because you see them kind of cave to that influence, and then usually they realise themselves that actually no, it's okay for them to like whatever they want, regardless of what teenagers are telling them or whatever.
What about Lloyd in Space?
Oh, I used to watch Lloyd in Space. I'll look up the episode because I don't remember that. I've probably seen it because I loved that show.
You must be running out of food by now.
That's where you're wrong, you dopes. I still got plenty of dried goods. Dried beans, dried pulp gourd, dried beans. I got a couch, got a turlet. Heck, I got everything. Whoa! Wait. I'm okay. Just tripped on something. That old phony severed antenna I used on Halloween all those years ago. To scare Francine.
Oh, right, I vaguely remember this.
The Lloyd in Space Halloween special really sticks out to me because if you think about it, it is very, very disturbing. It starts out with Lloyd and his friends. They're 13 years old and, they want to play a Halloween prank on Lloyd's little sister and her friends. But then, there's a monster in a spaceship and apparently it kills everyone except Lloyd and his friends. But this spaceship is just floating in space for decades. They've been scared for their lives running from the monster inside of the spaceship for that long. Lloyd and his friends are old and, it looks like the monster is finally coming to get them. Their time is up. And at the very end, it's revealed that Lloyd's sister, and for those who don't know Lloyd in Space, Lloyd is an alien and so is his little sister. And his little sister has telepathic powers because, that's a thing that women in Lloyd's species have. She used her telepathic powers to, hypnotize Lloyd and his friends into thinking that all this stuff happened. Created this illusion of them being scared for their lives for decades. And that is just horrifying to me.
Yeah, that was quite heavy. Yeah, it was a bit like, geez. Imagine, for the sake of a Halloween prank.
I think that legally counts as torture.
Oh, definitely, that's psychological torture. Can't do that. And she used, her powers as well. It wasn't even, just the setting and everything. She, genuinely manipulated their thoughts.
Why aren't the women in Lloyd's species just the supreme rulers of the universe? Or either that ostracized because they're so dangerous.
I don't know, isn't Mum in charge of the ship, which is basically their world?
Yeah. That makes sense. But I'm kind of surprised that, for a species like that, they wouldn't have been hunted down and exterminated a long time ago, but maybe, they just used their telepathic powers to stop that from happening.
Yeah, maybe they will. You've seen that Francine can do that level of manipulation she's like an imp, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they've pretty much got everyone where they want them.
Yeah. I bet people are just terrified whenever they walk by them.
Mhm. But it's good. That was I did like that episode though. That was a really interesting premise. But it was also it was heavy. That was heavy.
Torture. Just for a prank. Wow.
But I don't see much here tonight. 'Cause everything is a fake. I want something real and real scary. That cardboard squeaky or clean. I want something big, green, and hairy.
Like a frog on a fur trampoline?
No! It's time to get down to business and spook up this boring scene. I wish things were real and real scary. Tonight on Halloween! Like a vampire sang in the night. Like a witch on a broom taking flight. Like an unwashed forgotten latrine.
Like a zit-covered hormone-crazed teen?
So that's what I want, real and scary. So when I trick or treat, they can see that I'm a force to be dealt with, and they better give their candy to me. I wish we were all real and scary. I wish this was one freaky scene. I wish the whole world were real scary. Tonight on Halloween!
Oh, have you seen the Fairly Odd Parents Halloween special? The first one?
Which one's that?
Real and Scary, where Timmy wishes that everyone turns into their costumes.
Probably have seen that because I used to watch that show all the time.
In this episode, Timmy misses out on getting these special Halloween costumes of, I think, Pumpkinators from Crash Nebula TV show, and that's because the rich kids bribed the contest judges so that they could get the costumes. And then, Timmy's really disappointed that he doesn't have a really cool costume, and he knows that's not going to get many candies, so he wishes for everyone to turn into their costume. But he doesn't realize that rich kids turn into their costumes too, so they turn into the Pumpkinators, these robotic, evil villains, and he's got to save the world.
Yeah, I do remember that. It's one of those classic episodes of Fairly Odd Parents where Timmy's problems could be solved with a really materialistic wish. He could just wish for a really cool costume, but he decides to do something completely irrational that ends up blowing up in his face.
Yes, this show is very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it's just like, he is so stupid.
Do you remember the song?
No.
You don't remember the song?
What song?
Real and Scary.
I don't know. I haven't seen the episode in about, I don't even know, when did it even come out? It must have been like 9 years ago or something.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time. I do remember what the Pumpkinators looked like, though. I'll have to look that song up.
Remember when Timmy's parents were giving out advice instead of candy?
Yeah.
It was, of all the bad things that cartoons have come out with for people to give out as candy, as trick-or-treating treats, I think that takes the prize for the most horrible things. Just a bowl of these slips of papers, like, floss regularly. Right-clicking gives you a lot of options for editing documents.
Yeah. I love the parents. They are absolutely, they're just ridiculous people. Like, it's, how have they made it this far in life without being murdered? They're just like, they're moronic, they're selfish, they're just terrible people. They neglect their child, they're just ridiculous. And they give out Halloween. Like, what arseholes?
And that was the conversation on Halloween specials. Something that I forgot to bring up while we were recording was the regular show Halloween special. Everyone from the park is heading to a Halloween party when they get into an accident. And what follows is a treehouse of horror-style set of Halloween stories. At the end, they get picked up and they're being taken to the Halloween party. But they crash into a tree and end up being ghosts. Well, storyboards reveal that the original ending was a lot darker. The truck driver is driving them down the street after they get picked up when they see an accident on the side of the road. The driver drives slowly by the accident so that they can get a look at it. But what they see is their van and there are corpses lying on the ground, with paramedics covering them up. Then it's revealed that the truck driver has a skull for a face and he drives them into hell. Don't forget, we are the Saturday Morning Black Party Podcast. You can listen to us on YouTube, Stitcher, and iTunes. Please subscribe. And we'd really appreciate it if you took out a minute of your time to give us a rating and write us a review. It may not seem like it, but that is extremely important to us because it helps us build an audience, it helps us attract guests to come on our show, and it attracts sponsors so that we can improve the quality of the show. So by taking a little bit of time, you can help us improve the show. If you write us a review, we will read it on the air as long as it's appropriate. Kevin L's account says, great podcast, entertaining, in-depth discussions and interviews about animation. Perfect for huge fans of cartoons and anime. You can also follow us on social media. We have the standard Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, but we are most active on Tumblr, where every day we're reblogging cartoon analysis, cartoon news, behind-the-scenes stuff, fan art, and more. Thanks for listening. Join us next week when we do a 2-part retrospective on Scooby-Doo called All Hail the Doo, where we talk about things like edgy hipster Scooby-Doo, goth girl musicians, and a whole lot of dead people. Goodbye. See you then.